Creating a toolbar for the program using XML is going to be a two-step process. The first thing we're going to want to do is to write the toolbar in XML, and the second part is going to be loading it into our program. So let's start by adding a new file, and the new file is going to be of type toolbar. And we're going to give this a name. And we'll save it. Now, this is a 4TB file, which simply indicates its type of file, and it's going to accept XML as its type of text that's used. But because I don't want to simply type in all the XML, I'm going to go out and find a toolbar first that I can use basically to copy and then modify for my own purposes. And let's see, I'm going to find one that I can copy and use. So we'll delete this out of the program when needed, but what I want is this basic structure. So I'm going to copy that and place it into my new file, which is the one that I'm going to use for my program. Once I've done that, I can just delete this one that I was using from the program. So let's give ourselves a little bit more space here and take a look at this XML. What you see here is an element for the toolbar, and then the end tag for the toolbar, and then within that you'll see fairly standard XML, which is the tag toolbar item, the name, which again is going to be bound to the name of the action that you're creating. And then here we just have the image associated with it, but you could, of course, extend this and add additional attributes such as the text as well. So let's go ahead and just create one for our program, which is, we'll add find and we'll add, let's see, let's take a look at our block and see what other actions we have that we could use. Let's just do find, and we can add next and previous as well. Now the order in which they're listed is going to be important for this, the way that it is created. And I'm just going to take these out so that it will just pull from what other action defaults I might have set up for the action. And the toolbar name here, we'll just do next and previous. All right, so once I have the toolbar created, the next step is to tell the program that there's a toolbar that needs to be loaded into the DOM tree structure. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually load it at the root level of the program. So instead of having it as part of the form, it's going to be a part of the overall program. So let's go to our main, and up at the very beginning, we could typically have maybe an init function where we're loading everything up front, or we could just have it somewhere directly in the program. And I'm going to do it here right after I connect. I'm going to make a call to a method that lets me load this toolbar. So I'm going to call ui.Interface, and the method I want to use is called load_toolbar. Now all I need to do is provide the name of my 4TB file, but without the extension, and ours was toolbar1, and as long as the program can find that file, it will load it here when we run the program. So let's go ahead and rebuild and run the program. And now let's take a look at what we have here. What we have is the toolbar for the form, and then here we have the toolbar for the program, the interface level toolbar. And we can move that around or let it float or whatever we want to do with it. Now, to better understand this, let's do a Control-right mouse click onto our running program so that we can take a look at the DOM tree, the structure of the objects. And we can see here that we have a toolbar and it's providing the path to the toolbar that we loaded. And here we'd see all the various items that we added for that toolbar. That was the XML toolbar that we loaded. We also have within the form, if you recall in a separate video, we added a toolbar directly into the form, and that toolbar is nested as part of the form. So the idea is that you have much more flexibility if you are creating your toolbars outside of the form. In other words, as an XML file, you can choose where you want to load it. Now here we loaded it again as part of the interface, but we could also load it as part of the form, and we'll take a look at that next. Now we're going to load the same toolbar, but also at the form level. So the first thing we're going to need to do is to get access to the window object and to identify the current form, because we're going to use a load toolbar method, but instead of loading one for the whole interface, we're going to be loading it for a particular form. So the easiest way to do that is for us to get access to the current window, get a handle on the form, and then load the toolbar into that form. So let's define a couple of variables we can use for our object references. One's going to be a window, and the other one a form. Now what we're going to do after we've opened the form, we want to replace the form's toolbar with our own. So we're going to first get a handle on the current window, and we can do that by letting w equal ui.window.getCurrent, and that will give us a reference to the current window. Now that we have a reference to the current window, we can identify the form that is the current form that's associated with that window. So we can say let f, our form, equal the Windows form. Now that we have a reference to the form, we can use the load toolbar method that is a part of the form class. So now I'm going to call f.loadToolBar, and again our toolbar 1. And it's a 4TB. So what we can expect here is that we're loading a toolbar as part of the program, and then we're loading a toolbar, the same toolbar, into the current form. So we'll recompile and run this and take a look. Now they come up stacked because they're in the same position by default, but you can see we have two toolbars here. Both, or the file being used is the XML file, and the difference is that one is a part of the form and one is a part of the overall windowed interface. So let's control right click again and take a look at the DOM tree so we can best understand how this works. You can see here that we've got a toolbar as part of the interface. That's one we loaded with the ui.Interface.loadToolBar method. And then if we look in the window and then at the form, we'll see that we've got a toolbar as part of the form, and that's one that we loaded with the form class's load toolbar method. So again, working in XML, this gives us a little bit more flexibility in when and where we place a toolbar.